Everything is set for one of the great state events of the season. And for the first time in 8 years, it is the turn of the Irish Guards to troop their colour. They'll be inspired, of course, by the sound of the pipes and the drums and by the sight of the regimental mascot, Dono. All set then for the music and the majesty of the Queen's birthday parade. And on this day of traditional celebration, the Queen's official birthday, Her Majesty, mindful of the tragic recent events in London and in Manchester, has issued the following statement today. This year it is difficult to escape a very sombre national mood. In recent months the country has witnessed a succession of terrible tragedies. As a nation we continue to reflect and pray for all those who have been directly affected by these events. During recent visits in London and Manchester, I have been profoundly struck by the immediate inclination of people throughout the country to offer comfort and support to those in desperate need. Put to the test, the United Kingdom has been resolute in the face of adversity. United in our sadness, we are equally determined, without fear or favour, to support all those rebuilding lives so horribly affected by injury and loss. That was the statement issued by Buckingham Palace on Her Majesty's behalf on the morning of her official birthday parade, and the Queen will be leading a national 1-minute silence at 10:45 this morning before the parade gets underway. Well, that parade will begin shortly here at Horse Guards, bathed in sunshine today for this ceremony of trooping the colour, a tradition that spans more than 2 centuries. And this year's escort provided by the sport company 1st Battalion Irish Guards. It's their colour being trooped today. It's a very great honour for them. They've been working so hard in preparation for this parade. The crowds, thousands of people in the stands around Horse Guards, many of them relatives and friends of those taking part, and there is a very strong Irish presence among them. There's live coverage of all the events here on BBC One. There's unedited, continuous coverage on the red button. The regimental mascot making his way towards the Horse Guards building. We are looking forward to an impressive parade. Let's join my colleague Sonali Shah with the Household Cavalry as they complete their work.
We really are behind the scenes here. For some of the soldiers, it's been a 4:30 a.m. start to get the horses ready for their big role in the Sovereign's escort. Now, there are 2 regiments of the Household Cavalry, the Blues and Royals and the Life Guards, and this year it is the turn of the Life Guards to take the lead. Now, what happened this morning is they made sure they came down to check the horses. Any that were a little bit nervous, a little bit fizzy, they went out for an early ride, and then it was back here for all the grooming. Last-minute titivation. We've got some liming going on to make sure the hooves are all dry, bandaging up the tail to make it look pristine, and some of these horses, I would say, are very much ready. There's no over-exuberance here, which bodes well for the parade.
More from Sonali a little later. Once again at Horse Guards we're joined by a special guest with first-hand experience of taking part in the birthday parade. Former commanding officer of the Irish Guards, Brigadier Christopher Geeker. Chris, it's great to have you with us. A warm welcome to you.
Well, good morning, Hugh. Thank you.
We found this little reminder, you like this, of your day on parade back in 1996. And while we admire this and think of all the style that you showed on the day, what are your thoughts looking ahead to this morning's parade?
Well, Hugh, seeing the footage from 1996 brings all the memories back, and I can clearly remember our feelings of pride and excitement then, which I know everybody on parade will be feeling today. And I think, like all Irish Guardsmen, serving and retired, I'm really looking forward to something special on Horse Guards today. 21 years ago, we put in a considerable amount of work for our day, and I'm sure that today's Irish Guardsmen will have done the same, and they'll want to show off the magic combination of discipline, skill and panache, which is the hallmark of the Irish Guards.
We're looking forward to it. Well, the troops on parade today have had relatively little time to prepare. We caught up with the Guardsmen at the Army Training Centre in Pirbright, where they rehearse in all kinds of weathers to perfect their drill.
we're here in Purbright, which is where we do quite a lot of our rehearsals. We spend a lot of time on this square behind me.
Don't worry about the rain!
My advice to any guardsman that's struggling on the day with rain is to man up.
Keeping that many people in a straight line is quite hard. Give you a glance out of your left eye to make sure you're in line with the other person.
The main reason we are one of the, if not the best army in the world is because of our discipline in the battlefield. There's no better way to display that discipline than on the square itself.
You get a cautionary word of command and an executionary command. So the cautionary word is telling the soldiers that they're about to act. So it would be a long, drawn-out command like
Change! Arms!
And then your executionary word will be a short and sharp word. So it'll be guard, churn.
Change! Strike! 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 Away! Still! Present! Time!
After the tragic events in Manchester, we paused the preparation for the Queen's birthday parade, and many of the troops who will be on parade found themselves standing shoulder to shoulder with a policeman in Windsor and London guarding locations as a result of the threat level being raised to critical. The Major General commanding the Household Division was rightly full of praise for the boys, not only for what they did, but how quickly they've readjusted to make sure that we can deliver not just our operational commitments, but also keep delivering on the Queen's birthday parade.
You need to show yourselves off now! Be aggressive and be disciplined in everything you do!
It is great. You're there, you see the crowd, you know your family are there in the stands to support you. And obviously, Her Majesty is the most important person on parade. She's there to celebrate her birthday, which is a real honour.
You need to grow 6 inches! Up, up, come on, rip it, rip, 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 rip it, rip. Keep going, rip it! Discipline, men, discipline!
Well, thankfully, there's no need to worry about the rain, but the Irish Guards will have to deal with some serious heat in London today, and their commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Palmer, is here with his horse Wellington. You are in charge of giving those crucial words of command to the Foot Guards. Any last-minute nerves?
Yeah, of course there's some nerves, mostly so I'll make sure I get it right for the boys, whose parade it is really.
I'm very much looking forward to you riding. You only started learning 6 months ago. You haven't had that long with Wellington. You two been getting along in training?
Yeah, he's a very steady horse, and I'm very lucky and also hugely indebted to the Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment, whose instructors have been very patient with me.
Well, all the very best to both of you today. Good luck.
Thank you.
Today's commanding officer, Jonathan Palmer, talking to Sonali, and these are the guards that he'll be commanding on parade today. As we said, the support company of the 1st Battalion Irish Guards providing the escort. They are the stars of the parade in many ways, led by Major Charlie Malira, the support company commander. 1st Battalion Irish Guards also providing men for number 2 Guard and number 3 Guard. And the Irish Guards were the 4th regiment of Foot Guards to be founded, which explains why the buttons on the tunics are arranged in groups of 4. Their identity is also marked by the blue plume of St Patrick on the right side of their bearskins. Let's take a look at the far end, formed up at right angles near the old Admiralty building. Number 6 Guard, found by number 7 Company Coldstream Guards, who trooped their colour very successfully last year. The Coldstream Guards are also providing the streetliners for this year. And next we have number 5 Guard, found by F Company Scots Guards. That's an independent company created back in 1994. And number 4 Guard, found by Nijmegen Company Grenadier Guards, also created in 1994 to carry the colours of the suspended 2nd Battalion. The Welsh Guards, by the way, are represented today by the musicians, many of them in the mass bands, led by the Senior Director of Music, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Roberts. And among the Welsh Guards musicians is Colour Sergeant Norman Hunter, who's taking part in his 24th birthday parade. And as the Senior Director will confirm, a great deal of thought goes into the music that is performed every year, more than 30 pieces of music chosen after a very careful process, a rather obscure process in the past. This year, though, we've been allowed a glimpse of how it all comes together.
Music for the Queen's birthday parade is incredibly important, because if the guardsmen have a real strong beat as they go around, then it's quite uplifting for them.
Today has been the selection process for choosing the music for the Queen's birthday parade.
I think it's very important to reflect the Irish elements of the parade, because the trooping our own colour doesn't come around very often. So it's very important to get it right on the day.
Right, Memories of Ireland.
The key Irish tunes in there are great to have.
I mean, it's traditional Irish hair.
I've sung all these songs to my children. I know that all of the Irishmen who are watching, it will mean a great deal to them to hear this, and it will really resonate with people watching, to the extent I would say that people will be quite surprised / delighted to hear them played in a British Army parade.
Okay, let's go for option 3.
3.
What do you think? It's a bit sort of fairground.
Yes, absolutely. It sounds like a barrel organ.
I don't think it's for us,
but not this there.
Right. Okay. Messine Ridge, very apt.
A piece I've composed specially for this parade is called Messine's Ridge, and almost to the day commemorating 100 years since that battle. There were representatives from both north and south of the border at Messine's Ridge. If Her Majesty was tapping her foot to my music on the day, it would be a wonderful feeling and a great send-off in my last year in the Army.
1 second, please.
Okay. Great tune. Isn't that good?
You're going to get a huge uplift there.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Okay. No, I thought it was great, and a lot going on all the way through. Yes. So yeah, we'll go for Messine Ridge. Thank you.
Rather fascinating insight into the selection of music for the birthday parade, and we're looking forward to hearing that new march, Messine Ridge, later on. And this year marks the centenary of the first joint performance during the Great War back in 1917 of all 5 bands of the Foot Guards regiments. The colour party is in place, protecting the colour, which was presented to the 1st Battalion Irish Guards by Her Majesty in 2009. The regiment's 21 battle honours featured on the colour, the most recent being Iraq in 2003. And what an honour! The honour of protecting the colour goes this year to 2 colour sentries, Guardsman Anthony Coates on the right and Jacob Todd on the left. It's a great day for them, and of course for Colour Sergeant Vince Hockley. Now this is his first birthday parade, despite the fact that he's put in 18 years of service. And I have to say it's something of a miracle that Vince is with us today, because he suffered terrible injuries in Afghanistan back in 2010 when he and 4 others came under attack. And Chris, you know Vince Hockley. You indeed know the circumstances of what happened on that dreadful day.
Well, indeed, Hugh, it's a great moment for Colour Sergeant Vince Hockley, and his presence here is in itself quite remarkable. I was his commanding officer in Afghanistan, and I was there when he was taken off the medical evacuation helicopter. And seeing him then, when I saw him, it was questionable whether he would live. But he's here today. It's testament to his resolve, but also I think to the skill and the care of the medical staff. And I'd also think like to remember Guardsman Christopher Davis, who was killed in that engagement, but also Major Matt Collins and Sergeant Mark Bergen, all Irish Guardsmen who were killed in action on that tour of Afghanistan.
Indeed, lots of reflection on the parade ground today, because as I said, here on Horse Guards we are standing by in a few minutes' time for the minute silence. This is the silence that will be led by Her Majesty the Queen at Buckingham Palace. Great sight along the Mall, which is decked in Union flags for this birthday parade, and the Royal Standard prominently flying above Buckingham Palace. Following the recent loss of life at the Grenfell Tower in North Kensington in West London, and of course the loss of life in those dreadful terror attacks both in London and in Manchester. The Queen has issued the statement today to say that what is traditionally a day of celebration is clearly also a day where we must reflect the sombre mood of the nation, in Her Majesty's words. And so the decision was taken today by Her Majesty to lead a 1-minute silence before the birthday parade gets underway. scene at Buckingham Palace. Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh standing in silence for a minute before the first departures, the Queen's Birthday Parade of 2017. Household cavalry providing the Sovereign's escort, standing by for the Queen to be leaving for the parade. But before that, there'll be other members of the royal family making the journey along the Mall to Horse Guards. First carriage procession is on its way, to include the Duchess of Cambridge, Duchess of Cornwall, Prince Harry. Duchess of Cornwall and Prince Harry and the Duchess of Cambridge in the first carriage emerging from the palace on a sunny but rather sombre morning following that national silence led by the Queen. And then we have in the second carriage the Duke of York and the Earl of Wessex and the Duke of York's daughters. The crowds acknowledging the first carriage and the second as it passes, and in the following carriage we have the Duke of Gloucester, the Duchess of Gloucester and the Duke of Kent. Duke of Gloucester, a cousin to the Queen. Duke of Kent, of course, a cousin to both the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. So this procession slightly later than usual because of that minute's silence, making its way along the Mall in glorious sunshine. Big crowds already gathered, and later of course there'll be even greater crowds back at the palace following the parade for the appearance on the balcony of the entire royal family and a very impressive birthday fly past by the Royal Air Force featuring some 29 aircraft. That's all to come. Duchess of Cornwall in that first carriage earlier this month, 3 days after the attack on London Bridge. She was with the Prince of Wales at the Royal London Hospital, visiting members of the public there who were injured in the London Bridge attack. And last week the Duchess of Cambridge watched the Colonel's Review when the Duke of Cambridge oversaw the parade as Colonel of the Irish Guards. Royal salute was sounded by the field officer's trumpeter of the Sovereign's escort, Trooper Joe Gregg of the Life Guards. And this year Her Majesty celebrated her 91st birthday in April, attending her 65th birthday parade as Sovereign. It's a record unmatched by any other British monarch. this year, 2017, also marking the first ever Sapphire Jubilee for a British monarch, passing the remarkable milestone of 65 years on the throne. At Her Majesty's side once again this year, the Duke of Edinburgh, who celebrated his 96th birthday last Saturday. The royal household announced last month that the Duke would not be undertaking many public engagements from the autumn. He's stepping back from lots of those commitments that he's had over the years. But here today, of course, in his capacity as Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. The first time, however, at the parade, not in his Colonel's uniform. Followed in the procession by the Royal Colonels, the Princess Royal there on the left. It's a Colonel of the Blues and Royals. She's held that position since 1998. And then we have the Duke of Cambridge in his 7th year riding as Colonel of the Irish Guards, and the Prince of Wales riding as Colonel of the Welsh Guards, and that's a role he's undertaken for the past 42 years. Prince of Wales succeeded his father on St. David's Day 1975 as Colonel of the Welsh Guards. Duke of Edinburgh had been Colonel of the Welsh Guards from 1953 to 1975. And then we have the Duke of Cambridge. Very special year for him, because of course it's his regiment. He'll be trooping their colour today. First section of carriages arriving at Horse Guards Parade, just passing the youth enclosure there on the left. Hundreds of members of the Girl Guides and the Brownies and the Boys Brigade greeting the carriages as they pass. And we can see that the Guards formation has changed, because number 3 Guard has opened, and that is to make way for the first royal guests. As the band prepares to play the national anthem to greet them. And then the royal party will have the best view in the house, really. They'll be watching the parade from the Major General's office overlooking Horse Guards, the office once used by the Duke of Wellington. Harry salutes the colour. And on St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th, the Duchess of Cambridge was presenting sprigs of shamrock to the Irish Guards during the annual St. Patrick's Day parade. The presence of the Duchess this year at that ceremony, upholding a tradition that's been maintained by a female member of the royal family since it was started by Queen Alexandra back in 1901. For decades it was maintained by the late Queen Mother, of course, who first attended the Shamrock ceremony in 1928. But this was the scene on March the 17th this year. Lovely images, Chris, and again underlining for us the absolute importance of tradition for the Irish Guards.
Well, quite right, Hugh. St. Patrick's Day is a very special day for all Irish Guardsmen in a family regiment. It's our family gathering. It's a time to meet up and catch up with old friends. Since 2012, the Shamrock has been presented by the Duchess of Cambridge. It's a relationship we value particularly highly because she's a part of our family.
Great sight along the Mall, and the Brigade Major, Lieutenant Colonel David Hanna of the Irish Guards, followed by 4 troopers of the Life Guard. They're leading the Sovereign's procession. The 4 troopers, the top finishers of the Princess Elizabeth Cup. That's the annual regimental competition, so they've earned their places here today in such a prominent role. And the Brigade Major riding Bastion today. He's the one responsible for the precise timing of today's procession. Then, of course, the great sight of the mounted bands of the Household Cavalry, always a highlight of the parade. Great drum horses making their way along to Horse Guards Parade. mounted band directed by Captain James Marshall of the Blues and Royals. He is the Assistant Director of Music. First and second divisions of the Sovereign's escort provided this year by the Lifeguards, unmistakable in their dazzling red tunics, their white plumes. Senior regiment in the British Army, raised in 1658 by the exiled King Charles II. The field officer of the escort, Major James Harbord, and it's his last birthday parade today as he retires from the army in December. And then the third and fourth divisions of the Sovereign's escort provided by the Blues and Royals, their dark blue tunics and red plumes. The state helmets designed by Prince Albert back in 1842. Tradition that we see today of inviting the House of Cavalry to escort the Sovereign to the parade, well, that was introduced, I suppose, relatively recently. If you look at the great arc of history, it was in 1937 by King George VI. Duke of Edinburgh, who's enjoyed a very long connection with the birthday parade, always enjoys attending. Today's event's, of course, a celebration of Her Majesty's official birthday. This tradition established by Edward VII because his actual birthday fell in November. So he chose June as a much more promising month in which to hold a birthday parade, and today proves that he was right. The weather is indeed glorious. The Royal Colonels following in the procession behind the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh along this great processional route which was designed by Sir Aston Webb more than a century ago. It was in 1947 that Princess Elizabeth, as she then was, took part in her first parade as Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. And then in 1951, when the King was ill, she took his place on Horse Guards. And a year later, riding a horse called Winston, she took part as Queen. She's been here every year since then, with the exception of 1955, when there was a rail strike. But every year, and it is a remarkable record. Mounted bands are now on the approach road, passing the youth enclosure. They will burst into applause when they catch sight of the Queen and the Duke. 150 members of the Girls' Guides, the Girls' Brigade, the Brownies, the Rainbows, some 90 members of the Boys' Brigade. Some Boy Scouts too. All the flags of the Commonwealth have been flown today in order of joining that organisation. And just underlining again the Queen's very strong belief in the value of the Commonwealth, with its values and its ambition of friendship and collaboration. Queen's coachman this year is Philip Barnard Brown, from Melbourne originally. Philip's been at the Royal Mews for 16 years, and we believe he is the first Australian to achieve the position of the coachman to the Queen. Among those watching in the stands are 11 Chelsea pensioners. They're led by Colonel Mark Baker, looking very smart in their scarlet coats and tricorn hats. This year the Royal Hospital celebrating 325 years since its foundation. Queen's carriage crossing onto the parade ground. Head coachman will salute the colour with his whip. And the Queen's Birthday Parade of 2017 is about to begin. The Royal Standard will be released, the field officer will give his command, and then the national anthem will be played.
Royal salute! Present arms!
Well, the Queen's first task is to inspect the line of guards. It's an opportunity for the mass bands to entertain. The man in charge, of course, the Senior Director of Music, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Roberts of the Welsh Guards. Music for the slow inspection has been arranged for today's parade by the Irish Guards' current Director of Music, Major Bruce Miller. Changes to folk songs of Erin, featuring the Carry Dance in Sweet Dublin Bay. The Queen is Colonel-in-Chief of all 7 regiments of the Household Division, today wearing the brooch of the Brigade of Guards with its motto Quinque Juncta in Uno, 5 joined in 1, featuring the badges of the Foot Guards regiments. Queen's procession passing the sovereign standard of the Lifeguards presented by Her Majesty in 2014, bearing the regiment's battle honours as well as the Royal Coat of Arms. Standard bearer is Corporal Major Daniel Sentence, who returned to ceremonial duties last year after 3 tours in Afghanistan. Procession continuing now past the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery, commanded by Major James Luck, whose members will be making a grand entrance later on. Their lead gun is in effect their regimental colour. The officer in charge of the entire household division, General Officer Commanding London District, Major General Ben Bathurst, who commanded this parade a few years ago. He shared his thoughts on this new role.
Well, it's a huge privilege as the Major General commanding the Household Division, and I think particularly given this year, only so recently, we've been conducting Operation Tempera, so all the soldiers you will see going past were just a couple of weeks ago assisting the police to secure London. I'll think of all the men and women on parade, how they do their jobs, whatever they're asked to do, so professionally, so successfully.
So a first parade for Major General Bathurst, but it's a final birthday parade, we're sorry to say, for the Senior Director of Music, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Roberts of the Welsh Guards, after 3 very successful years.
To be Senior Director of Music on the Queen's Birthday Parade is a massive honour. It's very important that we get the music absolutely right, so it reflects the various elements and it lifts people where it needs to do. Obviously, I need to keep an element of my mind absolutely focused on the words of command and the music. I'm hoping that I can rely on my experience to really enjoy and savour this, my last parade.
Kevin Roberts sharing his thoughts with us, and Ben Bathurst too. A quick word on the challenge facing Ben today then, Chris.
Well, Hugh, a hugely important day for him. A hugely experienced operational soldier, commanding officer of the Welsh Guards in Iraq, and he'll be applying the standards of operations to today, but quite a moment for him.
Big moment now for the mass bands, getting the parade proper underway as they prepare to perform the enduringly popular Les Huguenots, one of the real highlights of the parade for over a century.
Mass bands by the centre. Low. March.
And with that raised trombone, Sergeant Andrew Mercer gives a signal to counter-march. The band will turn ready for that quick march to come in a moment.
March band by the centre. Cut march.
Familiar figure of Senior Drum Major Scott Fitzgerald of the Coldstream Guards in his final birthday parade. Ordering the quick march Messine Ridge, we heard about it earlier, composed by Major Bruce Miller. Drummer breaks away. 22-year-old Lance Corporal Ricky Laverty from Ballymoney in Northern Ireland, acknowledged to be the best drummer in the battalion, marching to a position just to the right of the escort, ready for the next phase of the parade. drummer playing 8 bars of a field signal called the drummer's call, and recalling an age when communications on the battlefield used the drums. The orderly, Guardsman Rainey, who's from Birmingham, joined the Irish Guards 2 years ago, marches forward to take the pace stick from Regimental Sergeant Major Daniel Hinton, who will then be able to draw his sword ready to protect the colour in the next phase of the parade.
Escort for the colour will advance. By the left. Quick march.
The escorts stepping off very smartly to the march of the British Grenadiers. Good moment for men to stretch their legs, to take centre stage, to show the style and flair that they have, the results of weeks of hard work. It's a great moment for them, Chris.
Well, a big moment for the escort, Hugh, a really proud moment that they have spent hours preparing for. The escort drawn from support company, they're the more experienced soldiers in the battalion. It's highly unusual for the company to provide the escort, and they won the privilege in a drill competition, and today is their reward. And when you talk to the men in the escort, thinking back to when I did it, it's a unique honour. And although you may do several of these birthday parades in a career, you're very unlikely to be in the escort more than once, making today a real career highlight for each and every one of them.
So the escort marches forward. They'll stop some 16 paces from the colour pot, ready for the collection to take place.
Escort for the colour. In open order. Right. Jet. Husbands will return. About turn.
Mass bands turning to face the colour party. Senior director Kevin Roberts making his way through the band to a new position close to the front. And this is a very proud moment for Regimental Sergeant Major Daniel Hinton as he now prepares to take possession of the colour, protecting it with his sword, ready to hand it over safely to the ensign, Second Lieutenant O'Connor, who will then troop the colour through the ranks. From the old hand to the new, Second Lieutenant O'Connor, today's ensign, prepares to receive the colour, ready for the trooping, ready to place it safely in his white colour belt.
Escort to the colour. Breathe in. Out. Escort to the colour. Slow. Up.
So the ensign, Sergeant Major, resumed their positions in the escort, and we've now entered a new phase in the parade because the escort for the colour, having taken possession, has now become the escort to the colour.
Escort to the colour. Change. Up. Escort to the colour. By the centre. Slow. March.
So the escort advances now in slow time. Bands playing Escort to the Colour by Richard Ridings. Very familiar tune, been played at this point ever since 1978. Very soon the bands will have to negotiate what everyone acknowledges is a rather daunting manoeuvre. This is the military equivalent of the three-point turn, that's what they say. It's known as the spin wheel. 200 musicians supported by the corps of drums having to change direction without changing formation. Among them is Drum Major Smiley of the Irish Guards. He wants us to know that his 5-year-old son Brandon is watching the parade at home in Datchet. Of course, other people watching from other vantage points too. Duchess of Cornwall there in the Major General's office overlooking Welsh Guards. Grenadiers Slow March, arranged by Fred Harris. The escort preparing to troop the colour through the ranks. The symbolic foundation of this parade. Specific honour is to parade the regimental standard or colour as a rallying point, as armies have done through the centuries. Of course, on the ensign. Her Majesty certainly looking in great detail, but everyone else too, and an audience of millions around the world. Second Lieutenant O'Connor, who was commissioned from Sandhurst last summer, he's been telling us about the honour of being chosen, how he's been preparing for this very prominent role in the parade.
I'm very proud to be ensign on the troop. I'm very much aware of the significance of trooping the colour. For the Irish Guards, It gives us an opportunity to show off and to show our professionalism to the public, and hopefully we'll do the regiment and its history justice on the day.
A lot of hard work has gone into this, Chris, not just for the ensign, of course, but for all of those taking part in the parade, as you would know, having taken part yourself.
Well, absolutely, Hugh, and the memories of 21 years ago are fresh. But looking at it now, the colour has a central part in the parade today, and it's a central part of the battalion. It's of enormous significance, not only for people on parade today, Irish Guards past and present. It's a consecrated symbol of the battalion and the regiment. It was used hundreds of years ago as a rallying point in battle. And the act of trooping the colour was to ensure that every man knew what his colour looked like. So today, as much as then, the colours are revered and central part of the battalion. To all those on parade, it represents the spirit and the soul of the regiment. Those who have been killed in action, our past achievements, and it provides an enduring link with the monarchy, as it's the Queen, as our Colonel-in-Chief, who presents the colours. And so a really proud moment for the ensign as he troops the colour in front of his fellow guardsmen.
Escort arriving alongside number 2 guard and then passing to its original position. Right guide of number 2 guard, Company Sergeant Major Griffiths.
Halt! Escort to the colour will advance. Left! Turn! Escort to the colour. Change! Out! Escort to the colour. Reason! Out! Guards! Slow! Arms! Officers! Take post! Quick! March! Halted troops! Slow! Forward! Numbers 1 to 5 guards will retire. Name out. 10. At the halt. Right bomb. Quick, march.
Music played by a corps of drums composed shortly after the Second World War by Drum Major Tom Burkitt of the Coldstream Guards as we prepare for the next phase of the Queen's Birthday Parade.
Numbers 1 to 5 guards will advance. Name out. 10. Number 6
Guard, close order, march! Number 6 Guard will move to the right in threes. 4 threes! Right! Guard will march past in slow and quick time. By the left. Slow. March.
So the trooping phase is complete and the march past is about to begin. We start with a neutral slow march, not tied to any particular regiment, and that neutral march is Proud Heritage. Another original composition for the parade by Major Bruce Miller of the Irish Guards. Countless hours of hard work on the parade ground bearing fruit. A great sea of scarlet tunics. Such a wonderful and uplifting sight. 1st Battalion Irish Guards, based at Cavalry Barracks in Hounslow, currently employed in state ceremonial public duties, support company. As Chris, you were saying earlier, a very important part of that effort.
Hugely, Hugh. Support company are the heavy weapons specialists who man the support weapons in the battalion. That's where the name comes from. And that comprised the anti-tank rockets, the mortars and the sniper rifles. And it is, I think, a reminder that amongst all the pageantry and the ceremonial, that each and every one of these men are highly trained fighting soldiers. Many have got experience in Iraq and Afghanistan, or one of the many other deployments that the army is engaged in today. And the discipline, the teamwork, the attention to detail that you can see today are also the foundation of success on combat operations, and that is what I think makes Guardsmen not only world-class ceremonial soldiers, but also exceptionally successful troops on combat operations.
Since 1902, the Irish Guards have had the honour of trooping their colour for the Sovereign on 13 occasions. And, 9 of those have been for Her Majesty the Queen. The escort being led by Field Officer, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Palmer, and the Major of the parade. And as we see number 2 Guard approaching, special mention there for Major Charlie Gare, captain of number 2 Guard, who was with Vince Hockley in Afghanistan, Chris.
Well, we saw Colour Sergeant Vince Hockley earlier and his remarkable recovery from his wounds. And there's a link there to the captain of number 2 Guard, Major Charlie Gare, who was commanding the patrol on which Vince was shot. And Charlie got the rest of the patrol to safety. He evacuated the wounded. And at the end of the tour, he was ordered and mentioned in dispatches for his gallantry and his leadership.
Bearskins being worn tend to be passed from one generation to the next, by the way. Until recently, we were told that one Coldstream officer was still wearing one that had been used at the Battle of Alma in 1854. Colour being carried now to the front of the escort, ready for the march past Her Majesty. Soon the music will change to the Irish Guard slow march. Field Officer Jonathan Palmer, Dominic Olkin, the major of the parade, ready now to lead the march past the saluting base. Queen acknowledges the colour. The music's changed to the Irish Guard slow march. Let Erin remember. The ensign lowers the colour, what's called the flourish, as he passes the saluting base. Then he effects the recover, raising the colour once again once the march past is complete. And looking on, no doubt with a measure of pride, is Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, Colonel of the Irish Guards since 2011. Music for the Grenadier Guard slow march from Handel's Scipio. And no doubt one of those watching most keenly at this point is the Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, the Duke of Edinburgh. Scots Guard slow march, Garb of Old Gaul, and the third member of the saluting base, the Duke of Kent, is Colonel of the Scots Guards. Slow march of the Coldstream Guards from Mozart's Figaro. And their colonel is Lieutenant General Sir James Bucknell. And the adjutant of the parade, Captain Max Dewar of the Irish Guards, riding Connor today. Served twice in Afghanistan as part of the Guard of Honour outside Westminster Abbey for the wedding of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge 6 years ago. Music changes again to the neutral slow march, this time Royal Standard. Field Officer Brigade waiting. Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Palmer will ride out to salute the Queen now that the slow march is complete. Yes, indeed, all eyes on Horse Guards Parade today. And many thousands of friends and family present, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the music, enjoying the drill, the precision and the smartness of the parade. My colleague Sonali has been catching up with one of those very proud relatives, Anita Ward, mother of Colour Sergeant Vince Hockley, Sergeant to the Colour.
I'm with Colour Sergeant Vince Hockley's mother, Anita Ward. Anita, I know you've been at the Queen's Birthday Parade before when you were Lord Mayor of Birmingham, but this is the first time as a proud mum.
It is, and so very different from when I was here as Lord Mayor. A lot of pride for myself and for the whole family today.
And earlier on in the programme we heard about Vince's injuries. To go from there to being here on parade today just makes it all so extra special, doesn't it?
It is, but it's all been down to his own determination, his own willpower, and I have to say the support that he's had from those around him as well.
Including your father, who was in the Coldstream Guards. He's going to be watching from home today.
He is, and he'll be bursting with pride as well. There's been a lot of rivalry over the years between the Coldstreamers and the mix, but yeah, Dad will be in his element today seeing this.
Well, enjoy the parade. It's such a proud day for the family. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Bursting with pride. Lovely to talk to Anita. We're preparing for the march past in quick time. A word about the pipers. We can see them moving there from the rear to the front of the mass bands. 20 pipers, 10 from the Irish Guards, 10 from the Scots Guards. Such a lot of style, and they add such a great quality to the music on the day. So a special mention for them. So the Guards have now reformed, ready to march past in quick time. A new change of tempo, led by the senior time beater, Sergeant Neil Brocklehurst of the Scots Guards. Neutral quick march is Star of Erin. Plenty of Irish flair again. Composed by a former senior director of music, Major Jerry Horrobin, who wrote this for the birthday parade in '74. Among the spectators in the stands is Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary, with distinguished guests. Other ministers, including Sir Michael Fallon, the Defence Secretary. We are told that the Prime Minister Theresa May is not here at the parade this morning. As we prepare now for the march past in quick time, in a real sense of energy and pace. Great as well, Chris, to mention all the family support that is so essential in regimental life.
Well, indeed, Hugh, the Irish Guards take great pride in being a family regiment, and so many of the men on parade today will, like me, have had a father, an uncle, or another relation in the regiment. For example, in the escort alone is Guardsman Lee Mooney, who had a father, a grandfather, and a great-grandfather in the regiment. There are two sets of brothers, Colour Sergeant Sean and Lance Corporal Scott Boville, Lance Sergeant Matthew and Guardsman James Wright, and Guardsman Jacob Todd, one of the colour sentries, had a father in the regiment. And so it's great to see so many Irish Guards families represented on parade. Their families will be in the stands today, sharing this amazing spectacle.
The Irish Guards quick march, St. Patrick's Day. surge of the music of the pipes, giving way to the Grenadier Guards Quick March, the British Grenadiers. Maiden Company, number 4 Guard Company, had the honour of providing the escort back in 2014. Scots Guards Quick March. Highland Laddie, F Company, Scots Guards, an incremental company of Scots Guards based at Wellington Barracks. The Coldstream Guards Quick March, Villanollo, number 6 Guard, found by number 7 Company Coldstream Guards this year. Busier next year probably for the Coldstream Guards, because we expect that they will be trooping their colour at the birthday parade of 2018. Field officer rides out once again to salute the Queen with 2 movements of the sword. The mass band's playing the neutral quick march, mixed march, arranged by M.J. Henderson, former Director of Music Irish Guards. The Guards reform for the next stage of the parade. Probably a moment's relief for the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Palmer. Great moment for him, family and colleagues. He's been sharing his views with us.
It's lovely for me as a commanding officer to be doing something so visible in front of the blokes, and to be doing something with most of the battalion. I can shout all I like, but if they don't react to the words of command, then it doesn't work. I think just being in front of the Queen, I think that'll be the lasting memory, because she's an amazing woman. I hope everyone who's on parade today will look back and, even when they're in their doges, give it the old "I was there." Pull up a chair and listen to my story.
It's not a bad aim to have, Chris, is it?
I think it's an entirely reasonable aim, and Jonathan Palmer will be feeling it 100%. I've known him for over 20 years. We met when he first visited the battalion in Germany, when he was thinking about joining the army, and he's now a highly experienced soldier. He's done several tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's a qualified military parachutist, a reflection of the Guards' links with the parachute regiment in our parachute platoon. He's just 3 months into his time in command. He learnt to ride, especially for the parades we heard earlier with Sonali, and I think it's going well so far for him.
Colour is now taken to the front of the escort.
Guards in open order, left and right. Yes,
sides, the foot guards are reformed. Soon it'll be the turn of the mounted troops to cross the parade ground and to pass the saluting base. Very hot weather here in central London today, presenting a challenge, of course, not just for the men and women as part of this parade, but for the horses too. Mass bands and drums moving to the south side of the parade ground to create space for the mounted bands. Of the Household Cavalry moving on to horse guards, led by the Assistant Director of Music, Captain James Marshall of the Blues Brothers. This is the 20th year that the King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, has been on parade. They joined the event at Horse Guards at the request of the royal family, first taking part in 1998. King's Troop, essentially the saluting battery of the household troops, formed back in 1946 at the instigation of King George VI to revive the firing of royal salutes on royal anniversaries and on state occasions. And last Saturday, indeed, they fired a royal salute to mark the Duke of Edinburgh's 96th birthday. Sight of the drum horses, the Damas and Mercury. The drums, by the way, very heavy, given to the Life Guards by William IV in 1831. They weigh around 45 kilograms each. King's Troop, commanded by Major Jim Luck. His first birthday parade, took command last autumn. Been deployed to Afghanistan on 3 occasions. Her Majesty will be acknowledging, in this instance, the lead gun. Prominently on display, in effect, the colour of the troop, that's the status. These 13-pounder quick-fire guns, which entered service in 1904, and all 6 on parade today, used in the First World War. It's taken 12 hours of work to prepare the guns to be in the prime condition they're in for this parade. King's Troop, of course, has kept the title King's Troop on the orders of Her Majesty the Queen, in memory of her late father, George VI, who chose the original name King's Troop 70 years ago. Field Officer of the Sovereign's Escort, Major James Harbord, who was on parade 2 years ago as an escort commander. As Field Officer, he commands the Household Cavalry troops on parade today. The Standard Bearer, Corporal Major Daniel Sentence, watched by his wife Lucy and parents in the stands. He's riding Kimberley. A word about Daniel, Chris.
Well, for the squadron, for the standard bearer, Corporal Major Daniel Sentence, not the first time he's worked with the Irish Guards. When I was commanding the Irish Guards in Afghanistan in 2010 and 11, we worked very closely with the Household Cavalry Squadron, and I remember Corps Major Daniel Sentence in that squadron. It's great to see him working with the Irish Guards again, and a further emphasis on the dual roles, ceremonial and operational, across the whole Household Division.
Here come the Blues and Royals. Household Cavalry, of course, consisting of 2 regiments, Life Guards and Blues and Royals, the 2 senior regiments of the British Army. And the farriers, with their glinting axes, they're the ones in times gone by who would dispatch forces injured in battle. Officer's trumpeter is Trooper Joe Gregg of the Life Guards. It's his first birthday parade. He's from Orkney. Didn't set out to be a trumpeter, he tells us, but says it's a great honour to be part of important occasions such as this. The trumpeter's horse is grey, so that it's very visible on the battlefield. So a dramatic surge of speed and pace and energy on the trot past. King's Troop, who were recently deployed to central London, supporting the police in key locations, including Downing Street, as part of Operation Tempera. It's a good moment for us to pay tribute to all members of the armed forces, and indeed all members of the emergency services, who've shown exceptional dedication in recent months, faced with some very harrowing circumstances. Riding Galaxy today, very experienced parade commander's charger. Each of the guns pulled by 6 horses, kicking up a lot of dust on this very dry parade ground today in the sun on Horse Guard. And at the rear we have the masters of the troop. And the first ever female master tailor, by the way, in the British Army, Sergeant Emma Colton, joined the King's Troop 11 years ago, responsible for all the uniform being worn today by the regiment. Turn of the Life Guards to trot past Her Majesty. Sovereign Standard presented to the regiment 3 years ago, carrying 43 battle honours, including Passchendaele in 1917, and that battle will be commemorated in special events at the end of July in Belgium. Led by the Assistant Director of Music, Captain James Marshall, Band of the Household Cavalry presents its own birthday tribute. Kettle drummers riding the drum horses, crossing their sticks in their special form of salute for the Queen. Musicians look magnificent, wearing the state coat, which signals that they are members of the royal household. Crimson velvet, gold braid and lace. It's the oldest ceremonial uniform in the regular army. It's been pretty much unchanged since 1685. Band of the Household Cavalry moving to the other end of the parade ground near the old Admiralty building, where the Assistant Director of Music will come to a halt and turn inwards slightly, and that is the signal that he's handing back control to the field officer, ready for that final birthday salute to the Queen, this birthday parade.
Guards, in close order, left and right. Guard!
The guards taking up their dressing this time, all the guards in one very long line. This again is the result of very disciplined work on the parade ground, which we saw earlier at Pirbright.
Guards will form three ranks. Form the three ranks. Guards will retire. About 10. At the halt. By divisions. Right form. Back. Back.
As the guards reform into 6 divisions, ready to march off. The music played is The Adjutant, composed by Drum Major Tom Burkett. So they're closing up now to reduce the length of the procession that will take place imminently along the map.
Guards will advance. About 10. Guards on the escort, form close column. Remainder by the left. Quick march.
So as the corps of drums play Thrasher's Glory by Gottfried Liebke, guards close up. And the pace stick being returned now to the regimental Sergeant Major Daniel Hinton by the orderly guardsman Rainey. Left guide of the escort, Colour Sergeant Darren Lorimer. And making their way to the approach road as we come to the end of the parade, Garrison Sergeant Major, Warrant Officer Class 1, Andrew Stokes of the Coldstream Guards, accompanied by Drum Major Steve State. This is Andrew Stokes' second birthday parade in such an important role. Joined the army in 1988. He served around the world in the meantime, including the Balkans and Iraq and Afghanistan. He is in charge of the arrangements for this parade on Horse Guards, and there's a lot of responsibility on those very broad shoulders. Field officer prepares to ask Her Majesty's permission to march off to conclude this parade.
Her Majesty's Guards ready to march off, ma'am.
So another birthday parade concluded in the Queen's 91st year, the 65th year of the Queen's reign. The formal part of the celebration, if you like, is over, but believe me, there is plenty of colour and pageantry and rousing music to come. There'll be the march along the Mall, all the guards, accompanied by Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh, and then there'll be the fly past at around 1 o'clock by the Royal Air Force. 29 aircraft. It's going to be pretty spectacular. Some of those royal guests who are watching in the Horse Guards building have already left, and they're making their way back to the palace, ready for that appearance on the balcony. Prince Harry with Duchess of Cornwall and the Duchess of Cambridge. Extreme heat on Horse Guards today, and that's clearly affected one or two of the members taking part. It's perfectly understandable. The Queen's carriage is now back at the saluting base, ready for the journey back with her troops, with the troops of the Household Division, her personal troops, back to the area beyond St James's Park and the Mall and down to the Queen Victoria Memorial and Buckingham Palace itself. It's a wonderful, familiar journey. There will be thousands of people there to greet Her Majesty and the Duke when they arrive. Been a very busy few days for members of the royal family. Yesterday, Her Majesty was in West London, visiting local people there after the dreadful events of recent days. That's very much been on Her Majesty's mind, given the statement that she released earlier today and the fact that she insisted on holding a 1-minute silence before she set off for this parade. As she said in the statement, traditionally a day of celebration, but a somber mood marking national events. She very much wanted to make that plain. Having saved some of the very best tunes for the end of the parade, as the bands always do, because this is a great moment as well to showcase some of their best music once the parade is over, and they've got a few minutes to perform for us as we watch the procession going back to Buckingham Palace. I should say as well, Chris, that for the field officer, who of course has been in charge of this parade, it's quite a responsibility. This is also the moment where he may or may not get some direct feedback from the Queen, either on the procession or when they get back to the palace.
Well, Hugh, I think he will, and I think the hard work, the training has paid off, and I think both he and all the guardsmen under his command can congratulate themselves on a job really well done. High standards of drill, excellent teamwork, concentration, physical stamina. They've all combined to give us a really first-class performance, and I think all Irish guardsmen, past and present, will want to join with me in congratulating the escort and the other guards on a job really well done. As you said, Her Majesty the Queen, as the Colonel-in-Chief, will also have a view, and Jonathan Palmer can expect to be thoroughly debriefed back at Buckingham Palace. But having watched the parade, I don't think he's got anything to be worried about there.
I did mention the heat, Chris, and I think it's worth saying something about that, because it's not surprising that the intense heat here has affected one or two people, but it's certainly not impaired on the quality of the parade.
Absolutely not, and I think it's a testament to all the troops on parade that they've delivered an absolutely first-class performance despite some really challenging conditions.
Well, we are staying on air here on BBC One to see this procession back to Buckingham Palace, to see that birthday fly past by the Royal Air Force, which the Queen and members of the royal family will be enjoying from the famous balcony of Buckingham Palace, and there'll be thousands there to enjoy the fly past too. The tradition, by the way, of the monarch leading the guards back to Buckingham Palace was established by George V back in 1914, just over a century ago. At that time, the parade had become so popular, it was decided to provide an even more impressive experience for the thousands of spectators. It's no less popular today. Senior drum major and colleagues leading the way with the mass bands, who perform magnificently today. We were talking to Scott Fitzgerald during the week, and Scott was greatly looking forward to this, his final parade. And during the Queen's 65 years on the throne, the armed forces, of course, have been through a great deal of change. But the participants in the birthday parade have remained remarkably constant, really. 5 regiments of foot guards, 2 regiments of the Household Cavalry making up the Household Division, plus, of course, the horse-drawn guns of the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. I love this vista which looks down the Mall towards Buckingham Palace, the grand ceremonial route designed by Sir Aston Webb in the early 20th century. So familiar to the Queen and the royal family. It's featured every great event of her reign, and before that too. This is where she travelled to her wedding in November 1947. Vast crowds there as well, of course, for other royal weddings in the decades that followed. It's been a feature too on more sombre occasions, such as her father's funeral in 1952 and her mother's funeral in 2002. A word about the streetliners, because they perform such a valuable function. 12 officers, 220 men from the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards lining the processional route from Buckingham Palace to Horse Guards, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel James Thurston, who was the field officer at the parade last year. And Chris, there's a danger sometimes to maybe overlook the streetliners because of what's going on Horse Guards parade, but it's very important to underline what they're doing.
Absolutely, Hugh. The streetliners play a fundamental role in this parade, formed today from the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards. They provide spectacle and colour back along the Mall, and it'll be an important moment for them as the Queen and the Royal Procession pass them on their way back up to Buckingham Palace.
You mentioned the fact that the Welsh Guards, for example, today were represented by Kevin Roberts and some of the musicians in the bands. It's important for us to recognise who's not here today.
Indeed, Hugh. 3 battalions not represented today: the 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards, 1st Battalion Scots Guards and the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards. They're busy preparing for operational duty. They're part of the UK's high readiness forces, and they're likely to deploy in the next year to furnish the UK's enduring commitments in the Middle East and in Afghanistan. So exciting and important work that they're engaged in at the moment.
And as we enjoy these images, we see the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh enjoying the crowds and the sights and the sounds and the music. A word too about the regimental adjutants, because we sometimes don't get a good glimpse of them, but there are 6 of them, and I'm just wondering, could you tell us a little bit about them, Chris, and especially Colonel Timothy Purdon, who's in his last parade as regimental adjutant?
Well, that's right, Hugh. Riding at the rear of the Royal Procession are the 6 regimental adjutants of the Household Division. They're retired officers of the division who run the parts of the regiment outside the service battalions. And I suppose they're a reflection that service in the Household Division has lifelong connections, and they undertake some really important work with our veterans. And you're right to mention the Irish Guards Regimental Adjutant, Colonel Tim Purdon, retiring this year after over 45 years service to the regiment. And important, the family connection carried on. His son James served with me in Afghanistan in 2010.
Royal Standard fluttering above Buckingham Palace, Queen Victoria Memorial, and there we can see the progress of the troops and the mass bands and the Household Cavalry as they make their way back to Buckingham Palace. And as we look forward to the events leading to that balcony appearance and the birthday fly past, I'm delighted once again to welcome to the commentary box the journalist, author, commentator Robert Hardman, who writes for the Daily Mail. Robert, a warm welcome once again.
Thank you, Hugh.
Our thoughts on today's parade, where the Queen clearly wanted to combine a sombre message, insisting on that 1-minute silence, combining that with, of course, a parade which is all about celebration.
Well, Hugh, monarchy stands for many things, of course. Continuity, keeping calm, carrying on, but at the same time representing the nation to itself in times of both triumph and tragedy, and I really think we've seen that very clearly today. Let's also remember this is a day that's perhaps the nearest we have to a United Kingdom National Day. The Queen's very conscious of that. In British embassies, British High Commissions, British communities all over the world, today is the day for putting out flags. France may have Bastille Day, the Americans may have July the 4th. For the British around the world, it's the Queen's birthday, and that's why it matters in so many other ways.
The tone of the message earlier today, Robert, really was in keeping with the kind of tone set by the Queen and by the Duke of Cambridge when they visited West London yesterday.
Yes, Hugh, I was there at the Westway Centre in Kensington yesterday, and it was abundantly clear what the presence of the Queen and the Duke of Cambridge meant to the entire community. It's sometimes thought that perhaps the monarchy is governed by rigid protocol and doing things by the book, but as we've seen in recent weeks, the Queen has been very quick to adapt and reflect what people are thinking, what people are feeling. At the same time, she was there yesterday, the Prince of Wales, holding an investiture at Buckingham Palace. He paused, there was a minute's silence there too for that. And we're seeing time and again that you know, these moments, monarchy is about being there in the highs and the lows.
And we've seen too, Robert, as we look now at the progress down the Mall, and it's a great sight again, all the greenery of St James's Park, and of course Green Park there to the left, leading up to Piccadilly. We can see that the Sovereign's procession is almost back at the point where the gates and the carriage gates of Buckingham Palace open before us. A thought about the busyness of the royal timetable, and the fact, of course, that that timetable has had to be adjusted quite considerably for some very big events.
Yes, next week we were expecting the state opening in Parliament on Monday. That's now moved to Wednesday. The Queen has now rewritten the diary twice for next week. The Order of the Garter, the oldest order of chivalry, always meets on the Monday before, Monday after this event. That was cancelled because of the state opening. We've got a state visit coming up very shortly, the state visit of the King of Spain, which will bring all the royal household, the different components together for that. The Queen's got her full week of events up in Scotland at Holyrood House. These are all very important parts of the calendar, and at the same time, as we've seen, she's changing the diary all the time. And at the same time, you know, this week I was at a very touching ceremony in the East End, London's East End, on Thursday, where the Queen and the Duke were there to mark the centenary of the first daylight air raid on London in 1917, when a bomb dropped on a primary school, killing 18 children. A very, very moving service. And then a trip to that school as it stands today, a remarkable school in Tower Hamlets. And once again, a day of very powerful contrasting scenes. You mentioned earlier, Hugh, of course, that this is the Queen's 65th birthday parade, a record, in this the Sapphire Jubilee, as you said, another record. But as we see the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh coming down the Mall, it's worth reflecting. I mean, these two really have rewritten the royal record books in so many ways. Our longest lived, longest reigning monarch. But I think perhaps it's worth remembering the great upcoming landmark the Queen's perhaps looking forward to most of all in November, when she will mark with the Duke the first ever royal platinum wedding anniversary.
Duke today not in uniform for the first time at this parade, Robert. He is of course Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, and people will be reflecting today as we see the Queen with the Duke at her side, as he always is, but the fact that from the autumn his commitment will change considerably.
Yes, he's announced he's going to scale back his engagements. He's still attached to some 780 organisations around the world, and he's a very practical man. He's thinking about how to sort of hand all those batons on, but at the same time we've been told, you know, he will still turn up at certain events, and I think the way that this has been announced is quite clever. It means it's not an obligation on him to attend certain things. We don't have to expect him here and there. We don't have to worry when he's not at certain things, but I do think when the big events come up, and we look ahead to things like the Spanish state visit, a possible state visit by President Trump, and next year a huge Commonwealth summit. I think we can certainly expect to see him at the Queen's side for those big occasions.
And your thoughts about the way that the royal family has managed to reshape I suppose the engagement and involvement of younger royals over the last few years, but we're now really seeing it in great evidence.
Yes, we are, Hugh. This sense of what some call Team Windsor, in a gentle, understated way. No big headline replacement, but here and there, members of the royal family, other members of the royal family, representing the Queen. That first and foremost, what they all do, in addition to all their own personal interests, their primary role is to support and represent the Queen, and we are seeing that time again, whether it's at an investiture, visits overseas, or day to day around the country.
It's pretty hard work, I imagine, marching and playing and contending with the heat, but it's certainly not undermining the performance. The music is as rousing and as spectacular as ever, and the Queen and Duke are clearly enjoying surveying the scene on this great day of the birthday parade. Duke of Edinburgh, of course, Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, who visited their barracks to present the Manchester Trophy at the annual inter-company football match. That was just a few months ago. Still very, very devoted to the regiment. And not forgetting, of course, it's just a few years ago that the Queen presented the Duke with the title and office of Lord High Admiral of the Navy. That was to mark his 90th birthday. So lots of members of the royal family on the balcony, just greeting Her Majesty and the Duke as they return home to Buckingham Palace. Prince Harry there, and the Earl of Wessex, Duke of York, Duchess of Cornwall, just acknowledging some of the waves below. And very soon we will have the Queen and the Duke appearing too on the balcony, ready for that RAF fly past.
And there we see the Duchess of Cornwall talking to the Duchess of Cambridge. It's an important birthday year for the Duchess of Cornwall, who will be 70 next month and is looking forward to a party with all her charities.
Some young ones on the balcony there. Robert, are we expecting to see some more young ones?
It would be nice, wouldn't it? We saw Princess Charlotte make her debut last year, and the Duchess of Cambridge is there as well, with Prince George maybe in the background. Let's wait and see what emerges.
We shall see. We've not long to wait anyway. Well, very soon thousands of spectators will have reached beyond the confines of St James's Park. They'll be right down there towards Buckingham Palace. Here on Horse Guards, I can tell you that there's a huge crowd making its way down towards the palace. So all of the gardens there, through the Queen's Gardens, from Canada Gate on the left all the way around to the right, and there you have St James's Park ahead of you, which has been a royal park for many centuries, and at one point even housed a zoo and a menagerie. But not these days. It's one of the nicest parks in London to spend a few hours in, especially on a day like today. So lots of people enjoying the atmosphere, and Sonali, my colleague, is joined now by Major Richard Chambers of the Life Guards to talk to him about the day's events.
Richard, your role is to make sure everyone's riding is up to scratch, and also the horses, that includes them too. Absolutely. Were you pleased with what you've seen today?
Yeah, very pleased. The horses, obviously with the temperature as it was, behaved themselves well, and the guys rode really well as well.
Yes, because part of your role is also to make sure that they don't get spooked out by the noise, the bands, the crowds here.
Yeah, we do a lot of conditioning training towards that. We've got the luxury of Hyde Park. We've got our own mounted band, so we can do a lot of that work as well. So.
How tough will this heat, you mentioned it, how tough will it have been on everyone out there on parade?
The guys will certainly have felt it. I mean, you know, as soon as you put this uniform on, you start to heat up, and then, you know, the temperature's about 27 degrees, I think it is today. They will have certainly been feeling it out there today.
Do you think you can relax now?
Once they're off and they're back at camp, then I'll relax, and obviously every horse that we've got on the parade, once we know they're all back in, and we'll check them when we get back and make sure that they're all safe and sound, ready for the next parade.
It really has been a wonderful day, hasn't it? The atmosphere, all the crowds, everyone's just been really, really enjoying it, and together.
Yeah, it's been amazing. You know, just having the numbers on the streets and the environment of Horse Guards Parade is just fantastic when you're in there and it's full. So.
Richard, I'm glad you can relax soon. Not just yet, but soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sonali with just one of those playing an important part in today's parade. They prepare to change the guard in the forecourt of Buckingham Palace. Does we enjoy this sight? Chris, why don't you explain to us what's going on here and relate that to some of those actually who have already been working hard in the parade?
Well, Hugh, not many people know that when the escort get back to Buckingham Palace, the parade may have ended for a lot of people, but for them, they go on to conduct the normal changing of the guard. And I remember when we got to this point back in 1996, we were tired, but were still determined to conduct an absolutely flawless changing of the guard. The off-going guard, the people on the right-hand side of the screen there, will be expecting it. But this is where individual physical fitness comes in. This is a physically demanding task, and the guardsmen's training will have prepared them for this, so there's no loss in performance despite the very hot temperatures.
How long will they be on duty and maintaining this duty now for?
Well, Hugh, the guardsmen who go onto the sentry boxes now will have a 1 or 2 hour sentry duty on top of having completed the Queen's birthday parade, so a pretty significant task for them.
So just thinking about the men who are now confronted with a little more duty, as I say, in the glorious sunshine. Horse Guards Parade and the Mall, of course, playing host to today's spectacular events, but Buckingham Palace too, right at the centre of events now as the parade has concluded.
The old soldier, the 2 left corporals, and the junior sergeant. No. Buckingham Palace detachment, there was 1 to 4.
So as the changing of the guard is completed, just a thought about others working, maybe less prominently, but still performing very important tasks, because in the weeks leading up to the birthday parade, a whole team has been at work behind the scenes, getting the royal parks ready, and they look fantastic. So what makes them look fantastic? What gets them to that standard? Let's have a look at some of those working behind the scenes.
I'm Lucy and I run the gardening or horticulture team here at St James's Park. This is effectively the Queen's front garden. It is probably the busiest park in the world and we get to look after it.
It's an early start for us on the morning of the Queen's birthday parade. We're all out at least by 6 o'clock in the morning, making sure that everything is spotless. The Mall has never been swept so many times as the day of Queen's birthday parade.
Probably what we don't know about putting flags up and taking flags down is not worth knowing.
We're here cleaning the Guards Memorial today, just making sure that it's all nice and clean and ready for the general public and for the Queen to come past. They're life-size statues of real guardsmen from the Coldstream, Grenadiers, Scots and Irish Guards. We give it a cold wash down first and then we start applying a bronzing agent to the patina just to make sure it comes up nice and clean. It keeps its colour and makes it look brand new, it just rejuvenates it.
Today they're planting a mixture of 4-foot, 3-foot and 2-foot geraniums, so about 22,000 plants altogether. I'll be here on the Friday double checking everything is looking good, replacing anything that needs doing the day before. I've been known to watch the Trooping the Colour on TV, and especially when the red arrows fly over and you see these flower beds, you can see that they're up to standard. It's a good proud moment.
The police will shut the road for us and then we'll get the word on the radio that start the works. I'll bring the lorries in, they'll start to remove the traffic lights, i.e. lifting the manholes up, unplugging all the electrics, straps around the traffic lights, they'll be pulled out of the ground, cover plates will be put in over the holes, then I'll come along and move the Daleks, they'll be removed, and once that's all clear, so basically you'll have a crystal clear view of the whole of the Mall, like from Admiralty Arch right the way through. All you'll see is the Union Jack flags and then Buckingham Palace at the background.
I still had butterflies the night before. You know, you always think, what if there's a thunderstorm? What if it rains? Is there something we forgot to do? And we could have 50,000 people easily on the Mall and in front of Buckingham Palace. I would like Her Majesty to think it's fit for a Queen.
I've been involved in flying flags for 18 years approximately, so near enough every day's different. It all comes with its stresses and strains though, I'm afraid to say. For the Queen's birthday parade there's 208 flags that are flown for the whole trooping event.
The flags are already pre-packed, so when the lads take them up to the flagpole, they're all in the right order and they know how to hang it. Well, the art of hanging a flag is firstly to get it the right way up. So if you're looking at any of the flags in the background, you can see the broad white is out on the leading edge.
On top of each of the flagpoles there is a crown. The crown is obviously put on the flagpole where the Union flag is flown. This morning we've been working on the Mall, flying the flags that you can see, which is the 50 Union flags, and from there we moved on to Amity Arch, where we fly 16 white ensign flags.
The buzz you get out of this job is seeing all the flags out. I don't think Her Majesty ever probably thinks who have actually put the flags up, but I'd like to think that she looks and admires them and, you know, is very proud to see all the flags when she's processing to Horse Guards.
When members of the public talk to us, they're surprised how much is involved. Not so much the Queen's Guards and everyone else, it's the people around that are unseen. The work that goes on, the preparation goes on for weeks and weeks, just for this one day. It's phenomenal.
Although I've seen it 20 times before, it really does fill me with pride. I love it.
What a lovely insight that was into all the work that goes on. And Chris, I'm so pleased we were able to draw attention to the fact that, you know, people are working for hours and hours before the parade gets underway, but for weeks before it starts.
Well, absolutely, Hugh, and having marched countless times through Queen's Gardens, as the Guards have today, I think we're all really conscious of the enormous amount of hard work that goes on to make such a spectacular setting, and I think it's appreciated by everybody. What fantastic work they do.
Well, Queen's Gardens looking splendid. I think we can all agree on that. All the hard work has paid off. So congratulations to everyone involved. We can see the great throng of people being guided down slowly along the Mall. Very soon they will fill the entire space, coming right down to the Queen Victoria Memorial, ready for that fly past in about 20 minutes time, we think. So 29 aircraft from the Royal Air Force, all ready to fly over the palace with the red arrows to conclude that flight past. It'll be majestic and impressive, so everyone looking forward to that. What I'd like to do now is to join Sonali, who's with Mark, whose team has been working so hard in the Royal Parks. Let's join them.
And Mark is full of pride because, as you touched on there, Hugh, his gardens are looking absolutely splendid. What have you made of today? Any last-minute hiccups from this morning and with preparations?
No real hiccups at all. I think that the heat that they forecast today made us get up really early this morning, and we were watering down the dust of Horse Guards Parade Ground from 5 o'clock this morning, which is much earlier. But look at the people that are here and who are enjoying it. It's been a wonderful day, and we're very happy with the way it's all gone.
It was great to see the level of detail that you have to go through weeks, months in advance, but even as simple as taking out the traffic lights. Do you think all the thousands of people here think about those kind of things?
I'm sure they don't, but when you see the wonderful procession that's just happened down the Mall, you know, how on earth would we do it if we hadn't removed the road islands and the traffic lights? So to us it's a common occurrence that we have to do for something of this nature, and doesn't it make a difference to the spectacle of the event?
We've been talking about preparation, but you also have a fairly sizable clean-up operation that already starts before the parade ends.
Never has the Mall been swept so often as it is today. So we were out again in the early hours of this morning making sure the Mall was swept so it was fit for the parade. But even while Trooping the Colour was taking place on Horse Guards Parade Ground, we were out again with the road sweeper before we saw the horses come back. And as we speak, I have another team. Once upon a time we would have done it by a hand brush, but now we use mechanical sweepers. But we'll be sweeping late into the day after the fly past by the RAF and the balcony appearance by the royal family. Will be working late into the afternoon to get everything back to normal.
And once you finish the clean-up operation here, what's next for the Parks team?
I think feet up tomorrow, but we have state opening of Parliament, of course, on Wednesday, not with the procession that we normally expect because of change of dates. And then in mid-July we look forward to a state visit by the King and Queen of Spain. So that again will see the Mall transformed as it has been today for a grand state parade.
So not a huge amount of rest before you have to get the team together again.
We have very defined what we call ceremonial seasons in St James's Park, so we're well used to them. But it does keep us very busy for a period of time.
Mark, a huge congratulations to you and the whole team that we saw in that film. Everything has been looking splendid today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes, well done to Mark and his entire team. This is the scene in Green Park, another of the Royal Parks, where the King's Troop is riding in to provide that 41-gun salute, as they do on the day of the birthday parade. There will be a 21-gun salute for the Queen's official birthday. That's how it's shared out, and then an additional 20-gun salute because it is taking place in a royal park. Let's not forget, of course, that there is a gun salute to mark the official birthday today. There's also a gun salute on the 21st of April to mark Her Majesty's actual birthday. And a week ago, for the Colonel's Review at the parade ground, there are two reviews before the actual birthday parade. For the Colonel's Review, there was a gun salute provided to for the 96th birthday of the Duke of Edinburgh, so they've been very busy. That is quite an impressive sight, isn't it? And Robert, you do wonder, when you emerge from that palace balcony, to be greeted by that, it's quite breathtaking.
Well, as the Queen said in her message today, this is a nation that's resolute, and there's an enormous, resolute body of people coming down there. No one's going to be dissuaded from coming along today for this great event, the one event of the year when you see all the royal family lined up together. We just heard about flags there, the wonderful Royal Parks flag team who put all the Union flags up and down the Mall, who've got to take them all down again shortly and put up Spanish ones alongside the Union flags for the Spanish state visit. But in among that crowd there, flags of every nation. I think today it's worth remembering the Queen is head of state of 15 other nations, 15 other realms, and for them it's a big day too. It's a particularly big year this. For Canada, for example, in a fortnight's time, Canada will be marking 150 years of Confederation. The royal family all will be at the heart of that. The Queen doesn't do long-haul travel. There we go. There's a very epic Canadian, I'm sure.
We didn't plan that.
So the Prince of Wales will go to Canada representing the Queen for all the festivities there, but the Queen's going to play a very big part in all the events that are going to happen here too. And these things happen in so many little ways. Today, for example, the Princess Royal riding a horse called Sir John, a Canadian horse named after the first Prime Minister of Canada. So at every level, these little connections, big and small, will be represented. And what we're seeing there today, the whole world's here today.
Very big police presence in central London. We saw the dozens of police officers trying to control this vast crowd as it makes its way down towards Buckingham Palace. And it's a good moment again to reflect on the work being done by the Metropolitan Police in recent days in West London after the tragedy at Grenfell Tower, but of course all the emergency services in ambulance service, and of course the fire brigade too, along with the police, who performed such remarkable work and shown such courage and dedication, not just in London after the events of recent weeks, but of course in Manchester too. And that's all part, I suppose, Chris, of the great effort that is made across the armed forces and the emergency services at times of great national need.
Well, absolutely, Hugh. The armed forces stand ready in the nation's need. We saw that with Op Tempora when the alert state was raised after the recent attacks. And so we really consider ourselves to be at the nation's service. It's expressed outwardly today in Trooping the Colour, but in lots of other, countless other smaller events throughout the year and when we're required.
So the King's Troop ready to fire that salute in Green Park. Sonali is now joined by a member of the King's Troop about to fire that salute in honour of the Queen's birthday.
Rachel, your story is very connected with the Queen's birthday parade because you decided to join the King's Troop after seeing a photo of them parading at Trooping the Colour.
I did, yes. I'd always wanted to join the army. Didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. And then I saw some pictures of the King's Troop on Trooping the Colour and I said, yep, I'm going to go and do that. And I've been there ever since.
And this year, of course, marks 100 years since women were formally allowed into the British Armed Forces. What's your experience as a female in the army been?
No different to any other soldier. All we want is somebody that can do the job and can do it well, and there doesn't need to be an issue. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, short, tall, you know, as long as you can do the job.
The King's Troop in particular, though, have been pioneers in terms of the number of women. You know, it's been fairly equal at times between the two sexes.
It has, yeah, and we're getting more and more females all the time. We're nearly at 50-50, so keep coming.
Is that what you would say to anyone thinking about joining the army but hesitant?
It's a great life. It's hard work, and you've got to be dedicated because they're live animals that need looking after 24/7. So as long as you're willing to work, then it's great.
You're normally either paraded or busy doing something else, getting ready. The gun salute. Yeah. What have you made of today's parade?
I haven't seen much of it, but I have. I'm sure I will catch up with it. I'll run over and watch the Royal Salute, see how that goes, but as usual, it'll be fine.
Well, we mustn't miss that, so I'll let you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
So those lucky people at the front end of the crowd, and that are the ones who are going to get to the railings of the palace first of all. They'll be able to see close up the reaction of the royal family when that birthday parade happens. And this is the moment, Robert, when we see this flow of people, when we realise that there is an exceptional crowd here today.
Yes, Hugh, I really, looking right back up the Mall there, I mean, this is, you know, tens of thousands. I couldn't put a figure on it, but I mean, it is a reflection of what an important event this is, not just for the people of London, the people of Britain, but from people all over the world. I've met people in that crowd over the years who've flown in from as far afield as Australia just to be here, because it is the day you see all the royal family, you see everything that I think so many people think of as being great about Great Britain.
Do you think that we can say with confidence today that this crowd, which is an exceptionally big crowd it seems to me, is something to do with an expression of solidarity with London and other parts of the UK that have been you know, experiencing very difficult times recently?
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, it's quite interesting feeling the tone of the crowd. I think it's sort of reflected by the Queen's message. In previous years there's been perhaps a little more euphoria, a bit more of a sense of jubilation. Today people are very much here, they're proud, they want to be here, they want to be together, they want to see the Queen, but they're possibly not quite the same exuberance that we've seen in previous years, and I think that's precisely that's appropriate, and that's what the Queen wants. She said this is a very sombre moment, but we are united in sadness, and without fear or favour we're going to get things right.
There is that combination. Clearly there are lots of people here who are British. There are lots of tourists too, let's be clear about that, and they are delighted to be here, to be part of what is one of the most impressive parades, one of the most impressive ceremonial events anywhere in the world. Sonali has one of those people with her.
Yeah, he's doing that. Yeah, I'll pretend it happened.
And with 16-year-old Madison from Philadelphia in the United States, what brought you here today?
We're here on a family vacation, and we thought we were coming to see the changing of the guards, and we got here, and there were so many people, and I asked my dad, I said, is this what happens every day? And then we asked one of the police officers, and they said, no, this is so special, and the royals are going to come out, and I said, Dad, we have to stay. Like, I don't care what we're doing for the rest of the day, we have to see this.
Oh, Madison, I love the fact you stumbled upon one of Britain's biggest parades.
Yeah, I'm surprised, like, with everything that I, like, look up about the royals. I never even knew about this.
Well, I'm glad you did. Enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can state officially that this doesn't happen every day.
I mean, just imagine if they actually advertise this event.
King's Troop ready to fire the first of the gun salute in Green Park. 6 guns formed up in a line abreast in the Royal Park.
Number 1! Fire! Number 2! Fire! Number 3! Fire! Number 4! Fire! Number 5! Fire! Number 6!
gun salute echoing all over central London, telling the world really that the birthday parade has taken place and that this is the day of the Queen's official birthday. And of course, as we saw earlier, the Queen accompanied once again by the Duke of Edinburgh, who's maintained his own close personal relationship with the servicemen and women. In 1953, the Duke appointed Admiral of the Fleet, Field Marshal, Marshal of the Royal Air Force. But as we were discussing, the Duke stepping down from lots of public and royal duties later this year.
Like all of us who served in the Navy during the war, I lost many friends and shipmates who are commemorated here.
His first salute is for the ship, and it is her captain that Prince Philip now greets. Lieutenant Commander Harper is now the guest, and Prince Philip commands his ship.
One of the great things that the services can do is they can take pretty ordinary people and turn them into extraordinary people.
And the crowds very soon will see the Duke of Edinburgh and the Queen and all other members of the royal family, principal members, on that famous balcony, Buckingham Palace. And it's a moment as well, Robert, isn't it, for the family to show itself in all its generations.
That's very true, Hugh, and that film there showed the great contribution of the Duke to today's monarchy. I think everyone will be very conscious of the fact that we're here, that the monarchy is in such a strong and happy place present. It's so much of that is down to the role the Duke has played over the years, and he's always there at the Queen's side, and I think for many people that will be the abiding memory of today, is the two of them in the carriage together.
We've talked a lot, Chris, about the relationship between, for example, the Duke of Edinburgh and the Grenadier Guards. It's worth reflecting again on the very close bond that's built up in 6 years between the Duke of Cambridge and the Irish Guards.
Well, absolutely, Hugh. He is our colonel. He became our colonel in 2011 when we were in Afghanistan. That was a huge morale boost for us. And on our return, he and the Duchess came to Windsor and they presented us with our campaign medals, and they presented Elizabeth crosses to the families of those who have been killed. He and the Duchess were absolutely brilliant, and it really sealed their relationship with the regiment. They're part of our family.
We're scanning the skies above central London because, of course, we want a little bit of a pre-warning that this flypast is coming. And while we just wait for it, I don't think it's far away, by the way. It's going to be with us within a couple of minutes. Some 29 aircraft, and we're expecting some 8 elements to the flypast, and no one will enjoy it more than the Queen will. She loves the birthday flypast, and that's why they're emerging on the balcony straight away now, ready for that flypast to take place. Queen and the Duke leading the way. All cameras at the ready.
And there we see Princess Charlotte for the 2nd year running making an appearance on the balcony, and there's Prince George, who turns 4 next month. He'll start going to school in the autumn. I think for many of the people down below there, that's particularly memorable sight. I think, oh, I've been here before, I've seen this, but that's a very happy scene there.
A touch more curiosity from the princess.
Yes, Duke of Edinburgh's trying to generate some enthusiasm there. The Queen, there's an interesting point there. We can actually see her guard's brooch very well there. That's a very important piece of jewellery for her, particularly on a day like today.
They're in place, and the flypast is about to happen, because the first element is a Chinook from RAF Odium and 2 Puma helicopters from RAF Benson. And this is the first element. The Chinook, of course, with its distinctive twin rotors, can often be seen in the skies above London. The RAF uses it above London to train its crews on how to operate in complex environments, so it's a very important piece of equipment for the Royal Air Force. And a little more excitement now that the flypast is about to happen. They realise that there's something to look at.
Of course, the Duke of Cambridge is just winding down his career as an air ambulance pilot, so he's possibly explaining that to Prince George.
So we have the Chinook and we have the Puma. Captain of the Chinook, Squadron Leader Jack Kyle, and the Captain of the Puma, Flight Lieutenant Gary Mackay. And some waves for the aircrew from the palace balcony. Waiting now for the second element. We're expecting a Hawker Hurricane and 2 Supermarine Spitfires. These are, of course, from the RAF Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. Lots of affection for this element in the flypast. 2017, a very special year for the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, celebrating their 60th anniversary. Round of applause for the Hurricane and the Spitfires. Spitfires piloted by Squadron Leader Mark Driscombe and Wing Commander Stu Smiley. And the Hurricane piloted by Squadron Andy Milliken. Third element, we have the Shadow from RAF Waddington and the 2 King Air aircraft from RAF Cranwell. Intelligence, surveillance, target acquisition, reconnaissance aircraft. That is the purpose of the Shadow R1. That's making quite an impression. It's quite a presence in the sky, it has to be said. Fourth element is the C-17 Globemaster III from RAF Bryce Norton, and we have a BAE 146 from RAF Norfolk too. The C-17, of course, transporting huge amounts of freight and can do so over 4,500 miles while flying at altitudes of 35,000 feet. Fifth element is the A400M Atlas from RAF Bryce Norton, piloted by Captain J.J. Jackson, and we have the C-130 Hercules from RAF Bryce Norton too. Very important heavy lift aircraft, perform a very important role. Sixth element, we have the Sentinel, and we have 4 Typhoons. The Sentinel, the most advanced system of its kind in the world. Here comes the 7th element, the Voyager from RAF Bryce Norton, the RAF's largest aircraft. This really does pass with a thundering boom across the skies. It's used for air-to-air refueling, strategic air transport, and the 2 Tornadoes from RAF Marham. We're waiting for the climax, the great display by the Red Arrows. patriotic sight of red, white and blue against that dazzling blue sky over central London today. The Red Arrows in their 53rd season, the fitting end to the fly past for this Queen's Birthday Parade. Queen just surveying the scene. Enjoyed the fly past. Just so the Queen and 3 generations of the royal family make their way back into Buckingham Palace. The birthday parade of 2017, the Queen's 91st year, is at an end. Another superb display by everyone on Horse Guards, led by the Irish Guards, and an equally impressive fly past by the Royal Air Force. Don't forget, you can enjoy it all again. Our highlights programme is on BBC 2 this evening at 6 o'clock. But for now, the sunshine of central London, from my special guests, Brigadier Christopher Geeker and Robert Hardman, and everyone on the BBC team at the Queen's Birthday Parade. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.